You're not going to want to miss the reveal for this one. What a huge change it's going to go through. This is a 1962 long dresser that I picked up at an estate sale. It's in good condition, decent condition, but solid, well built. I'm Shireen with Olive Street Designs, and I'm showing the process of furniture refinishing so you can learn too. Be sure to subscribe and follow for more. So I started by removing the hardware, and this is a 3-piece swag. You take off each end and the bar in the middle. Once I got the hardware all taken off, I started removing the drawers. These are the single track style drawers that has one track down the middle and ball bearings. So you got to give it a good tug to get it out. And then as I remove each drawer, I also number them just to keep track of where they were, because they like to be in their place. And I started by cleaning. This is krud Kutter degreaser that I'm using just to get everything cleaned up. Try and remove any of that residue from years of furniture polish and wax and things, fingerprints, and who knows what. It doesn't need much work, so I'm going to go ahead and just start scuff sanding. I do have a couple of places where there are some deep gouges. I was thinking of filling them, but I think I'm going to have to just sand them down. This is one of those areas that has a little bit of a big gouge, so I'm going to go ahead and sand it through. This is kind of a decision you have to make whether or not to fill it or sand it, because this will change the overall texture compared to what's next to it that has the varnish that you're just scuff sanding. And then when you break through that and you go all the way to bare wood, you're going to get some wood grain that's going to come through. So you'll see later where I'm going to have to address that. I'm just sanding everywhere. At this point, I feel like I'm just scuff sanding. I know we're going to strip the bottom, but while I was sanding, I discovered this. Look at that burl wood across the front. It was under a deep, dark stain and you couldn't even tell. I'm going to come back and actually strip that entirely. So some of these areas I just do by hand because it's easier than trying to finagle sanders in there to get around these edges. And then the dreaded crumb catcher. Oh, I always have to sand these because there's just years of who knows what in that space. I sand it, I get it all cleaned out, but they never paint very well. So sometimes I fill them in entirely, but on this one I decided to keep it. I switched sanders to my SurfPrep, just does better on these drawers with the details and things. And I'm going to continue stripping all the way, getting the feet and everything all the way down to bare wood. The sander did a lot, but of course I have to go in and do some hand sanding as well. And then getting up into those details, I wanted to do a lot of that by hand. I didn't want to break through that veneer. And before I put the drawers back in, time for a final clean. I'll remove this door. And whenever I remove the hinges on something like this, I always make sure I label them. I get these details off. Just a putty knife, a screwdriver, and a hammer. That's all you need. That one little nail is being quite stubborn. I finally got it out, yes. So once I get the hinges off, I always write on the part of the hinge that's going to go back against the wood. And this is the bottom hinge and which way is facing up. That way I put that in the same position, because you put the hinges in a different spot and that door is not going to fit right. And you'll see that I numbered the drawer, and I also discovered the manufacture date on this, 1962. So just getting everything back in place. I like to paint with the drawers in. It keeps the inside of my cabinet nice and clean. I don't get any paint on the tracks or in the cabinet. And then all I have to do is go in and paint the edges of the drawer later. No, they don't stick. There's no paint getting into that space where the drawer meets the cabinet, so they don't stick. But here I just have to tape off the area where you would grab that drawer. Now I'm taping off my beautiful burl wood so we can keep that. And here's a good trick for you. Aluminum foil. It's so great for covering legs. It just molds right around. I've tried all kinds of things, or, spend 10 minutes on each leg taping everything off, but aluminum foil, the bomb. Boom. And whenever I'm doing a long dresser like this one that's 6 feet long, I put up this large tent. This is a 12 by 12 easy up with sidewalls. This is all from Amazon. I will link it. I'll link it for you. But I can spray 3, 4, 5 pieces of furniture. Long dresser, no problem. So it is prime time. Let the transformation begin. This is so fun. I'm using a water-based primer here called Sticks. It's made by Insulex. I'll also link that for you. See that area? That is where I broke through the veneer, that varnish, excuse me. That's where I broke through the varnish. And here's that crumb catcher that, of course, never paints well. So I'll have to address that as well. And I'm going to do that with some caulking. But I don't want to fill it in completely because it is kind of the only detail that's on the top of this. So I wet it and then I just kind of massage it down into the crumb catcher, into that detail. So I want to be able to still see it afterwards, but I don't want to see all those crevices. So you can see now it's nice and uniform. I'm taking my sanding sponge now after everything's dry and just sanding everything down smooth. When you put the primer coat on, because I use a water-based primer coat, it raises the grain of everything and makes it feel a bit rough. So you've got to make sure that you sand. That's one of the most important coats to sand. And here goes the change. This is a custom color that I made for another piece that I did last year. It's a really interesting kind of a teal green blue, but I don't know what to call it, but it's a custom green. Isn't it beautiful? So here we are. I have mixed some wood filler and water to make a slurry, and I massaged it into that area, let it dry, and sanded it, and it filled that grain completely. So in between coats, here I am doing the details of the drawers. This is the only part that you have to do manually that the sprayer won't get. So spraying with the drawers in really is the best way, and then you just go back and paint those details. And this is the funnest part. After 2 coats of paint and top coat, I get to peel the tape and reveal that beautiful wood. Isn't this fun? I love the details of the raw wood. So I'm using Algonquin from Fusion Mineral Paint. You'll see that's a 5-to-1 ratio. So I have 5 parts water to 1 part paint. You can do this with any tan paint. Algonquin just happens to be my go-to for it. So I keep a little jar of it and I just shake it up real good and use it. Because, boy, when you're doing a paint wash, you only just use such a small amount, and I hate to just constantly be throwing it away, so I just keep it in a jar. But I have it so heavily diluted that I don't have to wipe it back. So I go ahead and just with a poly brush, it's just a little sponge brush, I just can put it on there evenly and let it just soak in. Barkeeper's friend, steel wool, and let's get to town on the hardware pulls. Look at the difference. Little elbow grease goes a long way. Hardware's going to go back on. Have to reinstall the door. Always the stressful part is this door going to close properly. And using a screwdriver with my left hand when I'm right-handed is always so much fun. But here we go. Yes, it fits. Okay, and a quick look back at where we started. Here we are with the final reveal. I hope you love it. This was really a fun transformation. I love to watch them go from dated to just stunning. Let me know what you think in the comments and be sure to follow for more.